Welcome back to Milan Recording Studios. My name is James Pavel Shawcross. In today's video, what I wanted to do is read off a bunch of your guys' comments and answer them in this video. A lot of this got started off with one person who sent me a private email through my website, which you can do too if you have a question that you wanted to answer to have answered anonymously, or you just had a long question about something rather off topic and you wanted to ask me about it. As long as it's music related, feel free to send it my way. So one person asked a question that I thought I should reply to in a video, and then I figured why not just answer like a bunch of YouTube comments and talk about them all in a video, because you guys leave lots of great comments, and some of them I think are definitely worthy of talking about in a video. So let's get started here and talk about the first one and just work our way down the list. If you guys want this to become as serious, let me know down in the comments and I can see what I'll do. So the first comment that, again, was sent to me through my website was from Miguel P., and he asks, "Hello, James. Do you think that the Yamaha SX7 is a piano suitable for recording a piano solo album? My only doubt is with Steinway D, but I don't find a good Steinway D here in Barcelona. Best wishes." First of all, I think it's really awesome that someone all the way over in Barcelona is actually a fan of my YouTube channel and is corresponding with me. I think that is awesome. Another thing I think is really cool is that you guys over in Barcelona have access to great pianos like the SX7, because in response to your question, yes, definitely. The Yamaha S7X is a phenomenal piano. I have done a video of one on my channel. It's easily one of the best 7-foot pianos. I think it's a little bit bigger than 7 foot, but it's easily one of the biggest, the best pianos that money can buy. The only other piano in that same size bracket that I would compare it against that I know of would be a similar sized Fazioli, like I think the F212, maybe the 270, no, it's the F212, is in the same range as the S7X. Those, I think, are pretty close. If you have access to an F212, try it out. You might like that one a little bit more. When you come to that level, it just kind of depends on, honestly, what logo you want on the fall board at that point. Those two pianos are really neck and neck. They're both phenomenal pianos. But in answer to your question, yes, the S7X is a phenomenal piano. I love it a lot. It's one of my favorites out there on the new market at the moment. Great piano. If you have the ability to use it in a recording session, definitely do it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. The next question I wanted to talk about here was on my YouTube channel, and it was from a guy called Music First Hefs. He asks, would love your opinion on an Auguste Forester. Thoughts regarding tone and the overall feel, action, etc. If I remember correctly, he asked this on a video that I did of an Auguste Forester, and I could have replied to it in a comment, but I figured I would do it here as well. So I have had the opportunity to technically play an Auguste Forester 3 times. Twice it was actually the same piano, and I went back to the piano store and they had the same one there. I've also played on an upright Auguste Forester as well, and I've done a video on that one too. So I have a video of a baby grand Auguste Forester and an upright Auguste Forester. Now the patterns that I'm noticing between these two pianos are, first of all, that they're very nice pianos. If you don't know, Auguste Forester is a small German maker of pianos. They don't make very many a year. I want to say it's around 200, but I don't know that for a fact. I just feel like I heard that number related to Auguste Forester, but it might be more, it might be less. They don't make a lot of pianos, whatever the number is. However, they do make very high quality pianos, and I have liked both of them a lot. If you're looking for a piano with a super light action, Auguste Forester is probably the best way to go, because both of their pianos that I have played, the baby grand and the upright, and when I went back to the baby grand, I felt the exact same way about it. They probably have the lightest actions on the market new today. They're really amazing. So if you want a piano with a really light action, whether it's because you like to perform on a piano with a super light action, or it's because you have medical conditions with your hands that, they get tired quickly, or you don't want to strain them, anything like that, an Auguste Forester piano is a really great option because their actions are super light. Their sound quality is also very nice as well. I enjoyed the sound of that upright as well as the sound of that baby grand. They both sounded very nice, but the thing that really stood out to me more than anything about Auguste Forester was how incredibly, insanely light the action was. It really blew me away. The next question I wanted to ask was from someone called Magda Velas, and he was on my YouTube channel. He asks, and it's a bit of a long one here, so he asks, James, from your experience of damages to pianos that were shipped over long distances, do you recommend buying a used piano from a seller far away? And he goes on to write about more stuff, but I think that's the most important part of his comment. So what I basically would say to this is that if you're buying a piano from a high-end dealer, someone who specializes in new high-end pianos, talk to them about it and ask them what their abilities are with shipping, because they would be responsible for shipping the piano. You'd probably have to pay them a bit extra, but it would be all on them. They'd handle all of the details of it, and basically you'd give them a bit of extra money, I assume, and sit back and relax and just wait for the piano to show up at your door. So that, I think, if you're working with a high-end piano dealer, that I think would be your option if you live far away. Ask them what they can do about shipping the piano, and they probably will have a solution. This can rotate back, thank you. All right, so let's move on to the next comment here. This was again on my YouTube channel, and this was from someone called David Stevens. He writes, as you say, it isn't the label on the piano, it's the sound and tone that it produces. This was in regard to something I said where if you're looking to buy a piano, don't look at the piano, listen to the piano. And then he asks, I do have a question though. When purchasing a piano, do you ever suggest the purchaser stand back about 7 to 18 feet, maybe sitting, listening, as someone else plays the piano being purchased? There really is a difference between sitting at the keys and sitting off to the side, listening. And I do agree with that. One of my piano teachers from back in the day would often have me sit on the other side of the room when he demonstrated a piano, whether he found it at someone's house or in a piano store, or whether it was in his own home, because the piano definitely does sound different when you're sitting at it versus when you're on the other side of the room. However, the answer to this question would really depend on what your use for that piano is going to be. If you're going to be putting that piano in a concert hall, or you're going to be doing lots of performances in your home for friends and family, then yeah, I'd say it would probably be a really good idea to have someone sit on the other side of the room and listen to how the piano sounds. It also depends, though, on the acoustics of the room. Let's say that the store that you're in has high ceilings and concrete floor, which some of them do. The piano is going to sound a bit bigger and more reverby than it would in your home, which might have carpets and lower ceilings. So it will also depend on the environment of the room as well, so that's something you would have to pay attention to. If you're looking for a piano that you would want to use in recording, whether it's in a professional studio or simply a home studio just for fun, it's probably a better idea to record the piano and record multiple pianos in the same way and play the same song on them, so then you can come home and listen to them and analyze which one you like the sound of most. That's what I've done for all of my videos, and when I was choosing my piano several years ago, that's what I did, and that's kind of what started this whole doing piano reviews trend. I recorded a bunch of pianos playing the same song, same mic position, on a bunch of different pianos. People enjoyed it, and so basically the present state of my channel was born. It was kind of cool. So hopefully that answered your question there. Let's move on to the next one. Dobermanator asks, and he says, we have a local Steinway satellite facility advertising a used Steinway M for sale without all original Steinway components, so no factory warranty. It was owned last by a Steinway artist, so not sure if that has anything to do with this circumstance, and of course if you want a warranty, Steinway offers to bring back to original. Imagine price is restrictive to do that. So I found that kind of interesting. It wasn't a question, it was simply a comment and a statement, but I found it rather interesting that a Steinway artist would actually choose to modify their piano from what Steinway has put in it from the factory. And I have a really interesting story about that. At the 2016 NAMM show, the first NAMM show I ever went to, it was an absolute blast. I went to the Bosendorfer booth, which is a hidden booth in, I think, the hotel across from the convention center, and they had a Bosendorfer 280 VC. What I didn't know was that this piano was actually the first, it was the debut 280 VC that the public was going to be able to play. It was the second one that they ever made, and they spent a really long time prepping it and preparing it for the show. Needless to say, it played amazing. I also have a video on that piano as well. It's probably one of my favorite pianos I've ever played, probably the best Bosendorfer I've ever played, and certainly the best 280 VC that I have ever played. It was amazing, and I really wanted to buy it. If things turned out differently, I'd have that piano sitting here instead. What happened though is I waited a little bit too long and someone came along and purchased the piano. After doing a little bit of digging, I found out that the piano had gone to a awesome piano dealer up north called Classic Pianos. I believe it was in Oregon. They have a few shops all around, but I believe it was in Oregon. And then from there, the piano was sold to a person who happens to be a Steinway artist. He played this piano, I don't know if it was at the NAMM show or at the guy's shop, but he played the piano and fell in love with it and revoked his Steinway artist status to be able to purchase and own this Bosendorfer. So that should go to show how good of a piano that this Bosendorfer was, and also just really something interesting that Steinway honestly isn't the best manufacturer of pianos out there. They do make a good piano from time to time, and honestly their pianos today are probably better than they ever have been, especially on consistency. I've played a few new Steinways and they all seem to be relatively consistent, which is a good sign, but there are many manufacturers out there who are making a better piano, Bosendorfer being one of them. Let's move on to the next comment here. Kirk Oliver replies with that he would be very interested in hearing the rest of the movie soundtrack that I played a little tiny bit of in my video about pianos formerly known as Steinways. He says that he thinks that cinematic music would be a great addition to your channel. I definitely plan on releasing that song. It's going to be coming out in the next few days. I'm really happy with how it's coming out. If you don't know, it was Speechless from the 2019 Aladdin movie. That song is amazing, and it really translated well to piano. I'm surprised at how well it worked. So that's going to be coming out within the next few days. I hope you guys enjoy it when it comes out. Carlos Marquez asks, I wonder what an original Stradivarius sounds like then, as compared to how it sounds today. He also added on in another comment, good piano and violin technicians over the years probably added tremendous value to the reputation of both Steinway and Stradivarius. Maybe Steinway should not get so picky and be more appreciative of the good work done by honest technicians. And I definitely agree with that. While I don't know a whole lot about violins and I don't really know how to play one all that much, I do know that Stradivariuses are well known for being amazing violins. And what I can say is that if you had a Stradivarius, or probably any violin from that time period, hundreds of years old, that never had any work done to it, let's be honest, it probably would be absolutely terrible. It probably wouldn't play very good, and it probably wouldn't sound very good. And the same thing would be true with a piano. If you have a piano that is, 110 years old and nothing had ever been done to it, it probably, depending on the environment it was in, and the same would go for the violin, but depending on the environment it was in, it probably would be pretty terrible compared to today's standards if nothing had ever been done to it. It's because of these amazing technicians and rebuilders who are able to breathe life back into these wonderful instruments like antique pianos and incredible priceless violins, that these instruments are still alive and are still able to be appreciated today. If it weren't for these people, these instruments would most likely be long forgotten and would simply be relics in a museum on the wall that physically can't be played, even if someone were to try. The Syned asks, he says, excellent information, JPS. I respect your prognostications of what it may mean for the Steinway & Sons brand and who wants to ship their piano from Ohio to New York, not like the repair and then have to ship it back to New York if you are not satisfied with their work. This comment was again on the video Pianos formerly known as Steinways, where I mentioned that if you want to have your piano rebuilt and have the original Steinway logo put back on, you actually have to ship the piano to New York to have it refinished or rebuilt. The Cyanide comments all the time on my channel, so he's definitely a familiar face on my channel, and I really liked that word that he used, prognostications. It's a new one for my vocabulary, and if you don't know what it means, I looked it up with a wonderful dictionary called Google, and basically prognostications basically means trying to predict the future, which was what I was trying to do in that video, trying to guess what will happen to all of these pianos that will be probably coming out in the next few years without Steinway badges on them. John Herb says, Steinway has as much right to dictate who restores their old pianos as Ford or Chevy or Honda has to tell a garage that they can't refix or restore their car. If there is no written agreement between the company and the owner of one of their old pre-sold products, the company has no rights to dictate the disposition of that product once it leaves their hands. Jason Nackard replies with, out of curiosity, I wonder if new Steinways have such a written agreement. I believe Apple has some sort of similar agreement, but I'm not sure. Now, normally I would answer these comments because I would be able to answer them, but I'm not actually going to be answering this, and I'm going to leave it to the YouTube user named FrazzleDude. He is probably the most qualified person I know of to answer this question because, as he writes, I just purchased a new Steinway D equipped with their stereo recorder reproducer in April. I signed no such agreement. And I love this, what he says next. If my piano were ever to need new parts, I would go ahead and use the best parts available regardless of who manufactured them. If Steinway tries to enforce their rules, I predict there will be some test cases in court. An attorney who is well versed on copyright and trademark law could probably give some advice to piano technicians and rebuilders as to what their legal rights are. Now, what's really fun about this is that I actually personally know FrazzleDude. I've been out to his house a number of times, and I have been able to review and film his new Steinway D and give it an honest review, including talking about the stereo recorder and also talking about the piano itself. That video will also be coming out in the future. It's a long video, and it's rather difficult to edit, so I'm working on it, but that video will be coming out in the future, so that I think is awesome. He invited me to my house, and I was able to play the very piano that he was talking about in this thing. As far as an attorney who is well-versed on copyright and trademark law, if you know what's been going on in the music industry as far as these trademark issues between, like, pop producers and stuff trying to copyright each other's pieces on, like, because they used the minor scale or something, that's really interesting. I'm not sure that there is an attorney who's well-versed on copyright and trademark laws in the music industry, but maybe one of them will come to light one of these days. Gibbo asks on a video where I talked about the Fender Rhodes, he said he would love to hear this compared to a Wurlitzer. I replied to his comment with a comment, but I wanted to mention it here in this video. That is a really great idea. I'm definitely looking forward to comparing the Fender Rhodes versus the Wurlitzer 200. There are similarities, but there are also differences, and it'll be a really cool video. But again, I've got a lot of stuff on my schedule, a lot of cool things planned, a lot of cool videos going to be coming out in the future, so that one has been set on the back burner, but I haven't forgotten about it. Every time I play the Whirly, which I do almost every day because I love that thing, I always think about that I want to do that video. The final comment that I wanted to talk about in today's video comes from Joshua V, and this one here is a really interesting one. This was on the video where I played the new Hammond instruments at the 2019 NAMM show. He says, I visited Hammond's office near Chicago, taking a tour of the facility and being shown new products. Really got the sense that they were more into keyboards now. They had vintage in the back room storage, but they wouldn't really talk about them, only stating that they were old and outdated. I left extremely unimpressed with the staff and vision of the company. I own several vintage Hammonds. I've tried to play the newer stuff, but the sound is nothing but disappointing. I'm a little bit surprised about that, but at the same time, I'm really not surprised about that because that was a rather similar feeling that I got at the NAMM show. It's very strange that they would call the old Hammond instruments old and outdated. Old, yeah, but outdated, no. Not outdated at all. No, not at all. People use them all the time, and they're definitely still a relevant sound. If anything is outdated, it would be a lot of the synth sounds from like the 70s and 80s to me. If we're talking about music stuff that's outdated, like the, what was it called? The Yamaha DX7, that fake Rhodes sound, that is an outdated sound. But the Hammond B3 is not an outdated sound at all, at least to me. They're still extremely relevant, almost more so than they ever have been, really, and they're really, really amazing. There are a number of companies that are attempting to reproduce them with what people like to call clone wheels. That would include Hammond Suzuki. I think Nord has one. There's one by, what's that one? It's called the Mojo. Krumar has one. Viscount has the Legend. There's a number of different clone wheels, but none of them really reproduce the real Hammond B3 sound. If you live in a country where a Hammond B3 is physically unobtainable, I believe in Asia they're really hard to come by, or in Europe, I think they're also hard to come by, at least a real Hammond B3, then a clone wheel organ would probably have a place. But here in America, where Hammond B3s and other similar tone wheel organs are a dime a dozen, there's really no place for a clone wheel organ, especially considering that most of them are more expensive than most actual tone wheel organs. Some of those tone wheel organs, like the lower end ones, like the A100, can actually be picked up really inexpensively. So why you'd buy a clone wheel organ when you can buy the real deal, I don't know. And when Hammond is rather unfriendly, and it seems that they were similar here, they were not, he was unimpressed with them, I find that really interesting as well. Why would you buy their products? So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to talk through a bunch of comments, starting off with Miguel P. Again, the S7X is amazing. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you want it to become a new series where I talk about your comments and talk about them in a video, definitely let me know. I will be looking forward to doing this, and let me know what you guys thought of it. If you have any comments or questions about anything piano or music related, let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed my channel, if you enjoyed this video, you might want to go check out some of my other stuff. If you do that, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.